Welcome to Cooking Circles. Today we are going to be making a basic white cookie dough, and we'll be showing you different ways you can use that one dough to make multiple different types of cookies. In here we have 1.5 cups sugar and 1 cup butter. You can use margarine as well. The difference between margarine and butter is 1, flavor, and 2, margarine, they may spread out a little bit more because there's more moisture in margarine. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cream it. It's important to cream your butter and your sugar. About a minute to 2 minutes. Creaming is important because what it does is you're getting air into the butter and the sugar, and it's going to give you stability to your cookie. After we've creamed it, we're going to add 1 egg at a time. In here I have 2 eggs and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Just to save a step, I just mix them together. And we're going to do 1 at a time and incorporate 1 egg at a time so it fully gets mixed in. And the reason why I like to crack my eggs into a bowl is because, you know, if you ever get shells, it's easier to pick them out of the bowl than it is out of the batter. Now another important thing is when you mix your flour, you want to make sure and use your scraper, your spatula, and scrape from the bottom and make sure it all gets mixed in, because what can happen is if it's not properly and evenly mixed, you're going to get like little, I call them little volcanoes kind of things. It's an eruption because the sugar may burn and you get those kind of runny, like, you know, when you get sugar on a burner and it kind of melts and kind of turns like lava type thing. That's
sugar lava.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's important to make sure that you scoop from the bottom and make sure that it all gets properly incorporated. So we have 2 cups and 1 3/4 cup of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're going to mix in. I mix in about half at a time. You want to make sure it gets fully incorporated. So this recipe, it calls to be put back into the fridge and refrigerate for at least 1 hour. And the reason why we do that is so it kind of firms up, so it's easier to handle and shape, roll out, scoop, whatever you're going to do with it. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it in half. And I want to show you over here, yesterday I baked off some of the cookies. And these are some of the combinations that I did. I did one where we used score. And I was very happy to find these in the grocery store. Make it amazing. But to kind of kick it up, I add about I used about a teaspoon of almond extract with the score bits, and we just scoop them out, and then when they came out of the oven, I put a Hershey's Kiss on top.
We're going to see those later.
Yes, you are. Actually, you can see them right now. Another thing, confetti cupcakes, confetti cookies, confetti seems to be the thing.
Sprinkles.
So just sprinkles. So we're just going to, in one batch, we're just going to add some sprinkles. Our healthy option, one.
Broccoli?
Yes. I have some sun-dried cranberries, and we're going to use some orange zest in one. So, and then we're going to make an orange glaze and put over top. And then a basic snickerdoodle, which is a white cookie rolled in cinnamon sugar, but we're going to just add a pecan to the top. Simple decorating and delicious. So right here we have the confetti cookies with the white chocolate on top that we just drizzle. Then we've got the snickerdoodles with the pecan, the orange cranberry, our healthy choice. And then we've got the score almond with Hershey's Kisses, which your wife was in heaven when she had her.
Those are amazing looking cookies.
So,
And they all come from the same cookie dough recipe.
mm-hmm. And that's just these options that I chose.
Wow.
The beauty part is that when you have a basic recipe like this, you can use it in so many different ways. This is just the options that we're using today. Some other options, Christmas time, add in some red and green M&Ms or Smarties. I would suggest maybe about half a cup.
Sounds like something you could do with your kids too.
Exactly.
You could get them decorating while you're doing the baking of the cookies.
Exactly. If you want to get out the piping bag and icing, you go for it. Roll them out and you can cut them up.
Can you use cookie cutters?
Yes. I use circle cookie cutters for the orange cranberry, and then I've got some square ones.
Maybe gingerbread men?
You could, definitely.
Cool.
Just remember that the thickness that you roll your cookie dough and the size that you cut it at will affect your cooking time, right? Because the thicker, the longer it will take. Now, the oven is set at 400 and these take about 8 minutes. So what I'm gonna do, I've divided the batter into two. I'll show you quickly. You can do this after, but I'm gonna do this now so that it has time to firm up. I'm putting in about a half a cup of the score and 1 teaspoon of almond extract. Extract's one of those things that it can be more, I'm trying to find my words here. It's one of those things that can be overpowering. So you're careful on how much you put. Almond is one that can be particularly, like, it can go from not enough to too much in like a drop.
So be careful.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to use my hands and kind of mix it in. You can use your mixer, it's not a problem. You know, if you want to roll it in a log and roll it in some saran wrap, you can do that and put it in the fridge. I'm just gonna put it in there.
I can see how the chilling would make it not
Yeah.
stick to things better.
Yeah. Now remember, if you use real butter, the real butter is going to really firm up. So you don't want to let it go too long. Confetti, I'm just going to put in about a teaspoon, because with these you really don't need a lot because there's so many of them. And now if you wanted to, you could put almond in here.
So not actually mixed right into the cookie as well as sprinkled on top.
Yep. Confetti right now, confetti cookies and cupcakes are kind of on the trend. So, I'm just going to find our saran wrap. Saran wrap these, put these in the fridge. And then I will grab the cookie dough that I made yesterday, and we'll show you how I made the cranberry orange and the snickerdoodles with a pecan. This is called a bench scraper. Something I've had for years. I love my bench scraper, and as you see, I'm just using it to cut. Now we're going to, this one I'm not going to do anything with it, because that's going to be our snickerdoodle one. This one here, I have about a half a cup of cranberries, sun-dried. If you want, you can put warm water and plump them up, but you don't have to. When you zest, you just want the outside of the rind. You don't want the white part. This is a microplane, and it's very, very fine. So it'll just get you can see it's just the top part. If you don't have one, use the small side of your cheese grater, your box cheese grater. And we're just going to just get some zest in there. That's where all the flavor is, because you're going to get essential oils from the orange. And we're going to use the orange afterwards to make the glaze. We're going to use the juice from this. Very simple glaze we do. Very, very simple.
So is that broccoli you just put in there?
Yeah, broccoli. Because these are the healthy cookies.
Healthy cookies.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. These are actually I like the mixture of orange and cranberry. And truthfully, to me, they are Christmas flavoring, because orange complements the cranberry flavor very nicely, and cranberry, you don't have turkey without, or maybe you do, you have turkey without cranberry sauce, but that's just sacrilegious to me.
I can smell the orange zest in the air. It smells nice.
And as I say, this is a really nice, easy, you can flour the counter down. Remember not to use too much flour, because if you use too much flour, you're going to be incorporating that into the dough, right? Because it'll get added into the dough, right? Yeah.
adding the flour to the cookie dough, what does that do to it?
It's not going to be as chewy. It's not going to be as
Yeah.
moist. It's going to dry the cookie
It makes
out.
it harder.
Yeah.
Makes it crunchier almost.
You don't have to be a nerd like me and sit here and make sure it's a nice square. That's just me. I think those ones are a little too big that I made yesterday. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller. Now keep in mind the width that you cut is going to be a factor on how they cook, how chewy, soft they are. I'm making them a little bit thicker than the normal. If you like them chewy, instead of cooking at like 400, maybe cooking them at like 325, a lower temperature. I know that's what we used to do when I worked in the kitchen. One of the kitchens I worked in, we would cook them at 325 for a longer time, and then they were chewier. Now, you don't have to do the orange glaze. You could do a white chocolate on, oh, Jesus, Joseph. There's so many options if you wanted. I know I've made this dough and I've just done lemon and I've made a lemon glaze with it. And the glaze I make is a very simple, just icing sugar and then the juice from the oranges to the consistency that you want it at. I don't know if you want to get me all.
What about spacing?
Spacing is important because there will be some stretch. A little trick that I've actually, in the last couple of years, have found out is that if you don't want them, you know how when you bake cookies, you kind of get that little dome where they kind of round out and they spread? If you want to avoid that, what you would do is say, cut your cookies, put them back in the fridge and let them chill for about 20 minutes. And then it kind of firming everything up again. And then they go in and you're not going to, it will help reduce that. Ew, a little thinner. Yes, I know, I'm a little CD about.
So you keep using the cookie dough until there isn't enough for a cookie.
Yeah. Personally, I prefer to use my ice cream scoop because then I'm not having to sit here and play with my dough over and over and over again.
It starts to get gooey, I bet.
Yeah. So we're going to bake these off. These are wrapped on parchment paper. 400 for 8 to 10 minutes. This oven runs warmer than that oven, so this will definitely be a 8-minute one. So it's 10:43, so in 8 minutes. While that is in the oven, I will show you how, and some of you will say, well, isn't that a snickerdoodle? Yeah, it is. We're going just to take, scoop. I like using an ice cream scoop because then I get the same size every time, so they're all going to bake the same. And we're just going to roll them in the cinnamon sugar. Cinnamon sugar is super easy. About a half a cup white sugar and about a teaspoon of cinnamon. Is I'm going to take if you have one that's got a design on the bottom, you can use that. This happens to be a plain one. I'm just gonna press down, and I just kind of keep it to the size when I press down of the bottom of the glass. We're gonna take pecans, and we're just going to press it down in the middle. And they're decorated. If you wanted to get really fancy, you could melt some dark chocolate and drizzle it over, and when they come out of the oven, so you've got the cinnamon and dark chocolate and pecan. But that's getting ahead of myself.
What about caramel?
If you want.
It's not very Christmassy though.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I've made these where I've taken a caramel and I've put them in the middle. Right now, sea salt seems to be also a really popular thing. So you could have the caramel, salted caramel in the middle, right? Caramel in the middle. And just, you could use those like those candies that you get at Halloween. And quite easily, just put one in the middle and wrap it around. And then put a little sprinkle of sea salt on top, and you've got your salted caramel cookie with cinnamon sugar. For years, I've used this recipe. And Halloween candy, who doesn't have extra Halloween candy? You know, I would take it like licorice nibs, chop up Score bar, chop up, you know, whatever candy bar, put in M&Ms, just mixture of everything, right, in it, and bake them off. I recently found out they're called garbage can cookies. I'm like, really? I've been making them for years. I didn't realize they had a name. But this is what I love about this recipe, is that, yes, it's simple. Yes, you can do a lot of different things with it. Just because something is simple doesn't mean it's bad. Keep things, when I went through college, cooking, it was, rule of thumb was keep things on the KISS system. Keep it simple, sweetheart. And nothing is truer than that today. And if you have little ones, have them roll them in the sugar. Have them put the pecans on. You know, decorating cookies doesn't mean you have to, you know, pipe the edges and do the flooding and get really, you know, where you spend a day decorating a cookie. Decorating cookies should be fun and easy.
How long were those in?
6 to 10 minutes, depending on your oven. Now we want to let these cool a bit. Okay, as these are cooling, we're going to make our glaze for the cookies. Those are the orange cranberry. In this bowl, I just have probably about a half a cup of just plain icing sugar. We're going to utilize this. Now, you can get the reamer that'll help juice your oranges. You want to kind of soften it. Just kind of roll it around and it'll soften and it'll help get the juices going. I don't have an actual measuring, and I apologize for this one.
One large orange.
Yeah, because I use the zest. I'm not even going to use all of this because it's going to depend on the consistency that you want your glaze at. You can take a fork and get it in there, and it will help release the juice. I'm just going to start to mix it. So I get to the consistency that I want it at, and then I can easily add more. So I think I still, you don't want it too runny, because if it's too runny, it's not gonna harden on the cookies. I remember I made these cookies, and I made them as lemon cookies, and I did this exact glaze where it was just icing sugar and a little bit of lemon juice. And a friend of mine, she's like, I have to get your recipe for the glaze. How did you make? And I'm like, lemon juice and icing sugar. And she's like, and I'm like, no, that's it. And she's like, really?
If you add egg whites to lemon juice and icing sugar, you make royal icing,
Yes, you do.
which firms up and you can use as glue for
Yes.
gingerbread houses.
Okay, I think that might be a little too runny.
So what do you do if you've made it too runny?
You just add a little bit more icing sugar. Like I said, I don't have an exact, not an exact science. But some people may want, if you want, you could pipe this. You could put it in, if you don't have piping bags, you can put it in a plastic bag and just snip the tip. We're going to be a little bit, I don't want to use the word lazy.
We're going to be dangerous.
We're just going to drizzle. You could quite easily, just if you want, put a dollop on and just spread it out.
With the back of a spoon or something.
Yeah, yeah. I also kind of want to get rid of the lumps. So these are still a little warm, keep that in mind. So you can just do that if you want.
A little too warm, you say?
They're still warm, but that's okay because it'll make it easier for me getting the icing on.
It'll puddle better.
Now that's one way. Another way is you just get it and drizzle. What kid wouldn't want to help with this? And no, you see I get blobs here and there, and there's some that's thicker than other places, and that's fine, because it's just a drizzle. It's just to kind of give a little extra oomph to your cookie, for lack of a better word. And there we have cranberry orange. This one with orange glaze. Needs a little bit more TLC. And you can put as much or as little as you want. So we put in these Score Bar cookies. What I did was I used the ice cream scoop again, made balls, flattened them down a little bit with a cup, put them in the oven. When they come out of the oven, when they're still warm, we'll put the Hershey's Kisses on them. And right now I am rolling out the confetti cookie dough to go into the oven and bake them off. And when they're done baking, what I'll do is I'll warm up. I'll show you how to warm up in the microwave some white chocolate and melt it. and then we'll drizzle it over top. So these are the almond Snicker cookies. They just came out of, you can still feel their warmth. Because they're still warm, this is the perfect time to just grab your Hershey Kisses and put them on, and the heat will melt them to the cookie so you don't have to worry. If you do let them go too long before you put the Hershey's Kisses on and they've cooled, what you can do, melt some chocolate and just put a little smear on the bottom and stick it to the cookie, and that'll work. Can you smell that almond? I can. Oh, you've got the
It's the mask.
mask. Yeah. And that is it for decorating of them. Pretty easy, simple. And I've got one leftover kiss. And we just let them cool. Be careful while they're cooling because the chocolate will warm up. And I did have some yesterday where I accidentally bumped one and it went all over the cookie. So the confetti cookies have just come out of the oven. And I've taken some of this white chocolate, melting wafers, put it in a bowl. Sorry. Put it in a bowl. I'm going to put it in the microwave. Ours here, I'm going to put it in for 30 seconds, take it out, stir it, and then I'll put it back in for probably about 30 seconds. You don't want to put chocolate when you're melting it in the microwave for too long because you don't want it to burn, because when it burns, you're going to have to garbage it.
It gets crunchy.
Yeah. You're cooking it basically.
Yeah, it's starting to crystallize.
Yeah. So just remember to do it in short little time. And take it out, stir it, check it. And I think I put it in yesterday twice for 30 seconds. Okay, so you see it's melting. I still have a little bit of chunks left. I'm going to put it back just for maybe about 10 seconds. Consistency is nice. The bowl will get hot, so you make sure you don't burn yourself. We're just going to take and drizzle. If you want, you can get piping bags. You could easily take and get piping icing, in the little tubes and decorate them with Christmas trees or stars. Not a problem. The nice thing is that this recipe is very versatile and you can do so many different things with it. I guess I'm a bit of a lazy person when it comes to decorating. I like simple, easy, uncomplicated. Whatever you do, have fun and enjoy. And remember, they're just cookies. What kid wouldn't love doing this? So today we did the basic white cookie dough, and we made 4 different types of cookies in approximately an hour. It's limitless what you can do with this recipe. All it's going to limit you is your imagination. And from all of us here with Cooking Circles, we wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank you to the United Church for allowing me to come and have the kitchen to work in. And thank you, Tim, for being a wonderful co-worker today and cameraman.